Hamish McLennan confirms the Western Sydney Chefs will come to life. It's official. You heard it here first. You heard it here ages ago. It is dropped kickoff time. I've got the limoncello spritz and I've got another drink as well, some bloody tawny port, because I'm in a good mood. We're coming off a historic Wallaby win, and there is a lot to be happy about. The series is still alive. The Grand Slam is still alive, and there is so much to talk about. I have the regular suspects joining me first and foremost. Firstly, Mr. Hartman himself. How do we feel about knowing that Hamish McLennan is actually a regular podcast listener?
I feel kind of weird, to be honest.
Hey, Hamish.
Yeah, mate, it's not a bad idea, but it should have been done ages ago.
Yeah,
not a bad idea. And he actually didn't say Western Sydney Chefs because we're not cutting the Chiefs.
Boo.
Yeah, boo indeed. But
it's an absolute disgrace.
I feel it's nice to know my ideas been acknowledged.
It is nice to know that in the world of random rugby outbursts and anecdotes that we live in, that some of them actually make it to the corridors of Moore Park and people listen to it. On the other side, of course, is our man in Moore Park, Nathan Williamson. Nathan, you must be in a great mood, especially after a long night, after many, many, many months of waking up after a shit night of overnight working with another Wallabies loss to suddenly. How pumped were you after that win? How pumped?
Been waiting for this for a long time. Hallelujah. I mean, look, we can get into sort of the discussion around it later, but it's one of those feelings at sort of 4 or 5 a.m. when you're soaking it all in, where you have to kind of think, wait, is this real, or if I just like bumped my head on something and this is just some sick perverted dream? But that was real, so hell yeah.
It's nice when it's real, isn't it? It's always good when it's like, oh yeah, they actually did that. They did that. And of course what they did was beat England at Twickenham 42-37, breaking a 9-year winless streak at Twickenham. But last time that we beat them there was of course that famous World Cup victory under Michael Cheika. So let's talk about this first weekend. But as always, we'll kick off with our left field question as to kick off all podcasts. And, there's been a lot of interesting discourse in the lead up to this year's Autumn Nations series. And not the least of which is that there have been a lot of fuckwits. There has been a lot of fucking assholes talking in the media. There have bin so many, from fucking Johnny Sexton telling off Rieko Ioane in his new book, and then Rieko Ioane just being an absolute fuckwit to him in the match, to fucking Ben Young saying, do me a favor, save it out there, and then getting his ass handed to him, to, of course, our favorite absolute boy, Bloody Campo, who I consider, Nathan, I consider you wearing a badge of honor that you've been blocked by him.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I feel like I haven't been blocked by him. And can I be honest, that makes me feel like I'm not important in rugby at all. Like I only count as someone of value if I've actually been blocked by David Campese. So the question we're going to ask is, who, in our opinion, is the most annoying rugby personality? So anyone in rugby or person in the media in general, in your opinion. Nathan, not to throw you under the bus under professional obligation because of this, but who would you start off with?
Is that Nathan Williamson? He's a bit of a prick, isn't he?
Oh, God. Yeah. Still can't find the marketing pigeon. How long have you been there for?
Just close to 4 years. I can't even do it. Look, I'll throw someone else on the bus. I won't say the person, but the whole shock jock, his shock jock mentality, the Stephen Jones, I think it is in the UK, his whole shock jock around selection and just basically being an idiot and trying to get clicks. Like, I'm not sure if you saw the ratings for the weekend, and we can get into who we thought did really well later in the game, but in what world was Twickitau a 7, Angus Bell a 7, yet Taniela Tupou was an 8?
The fuck?
Sorry, what?
That's wrong.
Twickitau was 7, Jeremy Williams is 7, who was great. Harry Wilson a 9. Like, there's being wrong and there's just being just clickbaiting, and that's what I hate. I dislike people that just go out there and just clickbait for the sake of it. You can't say Taniela Tupou had a 9 and 2 ratings higher than Angus Bell, who was amazing. You then can't have Twickitau at 7, who was awesome. Yet Harry Wilson, who came off concussed 60 minutes, was great, but not a 9. I'll say that type of personality, those that just clickbait for the sake of it with no real substance, just trying to get people angry. Hey, it works because it pissed me off. But I'm just like, really? Like, that's not... If that's the route you want to go down with, fair play. You do you, but nah, that's not it.
See, I disagree on the click mentality necessarily. Like, there is doing it with the intention of pissing people off. No. There is doing it, but I also think, no, you have to argue your point. Like, actually make it a decent point. Like, that is clearly objectively stupid. If you genuinely
I'll read his point. Let me read his description for Taniela Tupou. So he had 8 out of 10, had a whale of a game, and I did not feel the referee allowed him the advantages he was clearly gaining. 7, Angus Bell in a 7, an emerging prop coming through at last in Australia. He had a great battle with Stewart. He broke 9 tackles.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's funny. It's classic Pom stuff. Like, I mean, look, we're the same. Most of us don't watch any Northern Hemisphere rugby until we watch maybe the Six Nations or the Euros come here.
Lenny Twickitau, 7 out of 10. He may not be first choice, but he was the ideal partner instead for Swiliti. He's first choice. What are you talking about?
But they're
He's
English.
He's a world-class centre.
No. He's being an idiot. I'm talking about the Angus Bell thing, but yeah, he's more.
Yeah.
I find it so funny. Like, I had to do the Raws ratings earlier today, and Taniela Tupou came dead last out of the starting 23. Like, in terms of actual ratings, he got like a 5.3. And of course, I think actually this is a good question to ask Natho before we'll probably discuss it later about players going in. But I know he's nursing a bit of a niggle, isn't he, as well, which has affected how he's been going.
Taniela.
But yeah, Taniela.
He's always dealing with something. Like, he's just somebody who's, again, a human that size isn't supposed to be that quick and that explosive. Like, he's going to naturally have some kind of injury, but like, he was all right, but he wasn't an 8 out of 10.
No, not an 8 out of 10.
To have him basically as your third highest player behind Harry Wilson and Swiliti, that's just you're just clickbaiting for the sake of it with no reason behind it.
Officially confirmed, Stephen Jones is an annoying rugby personality. Answered the question emphatically. We all hate you. Mr. Hartman.
I'll probably have to deal with him next year.
Mr. Hartman.
Yeah, so funnily, it's not the first time it's happened, but I came up with this question and I didn't have an answer. And I'm glad you went to Nathan first because I had to scramble in my head for an answer, but it became pretty clear that I have more than one answer. But I'll be disciplined and stick to one. And it'll have to be Peter Fitzsimons.
Ooh.
He is, he constantly, look, he's an entertaining writer, but he constantly comes up with the dumb fucking opinions about so much. He sees Nathan Cleary play well. He goes, let's sign him. Bro, where have you been? Where have you been the last 20 years? Where have you been when Eddie Jones was coach?
Yeah, on that 20-year point you make, it's funny you mention that. When I've met him once or twice, and I overheard a conversation with him, and this topic of Australian rugby came up, and he said, and I quote, "Australian rugby hasn't changed in the last 20 years." And so immediately I'm just starting to think of, like, when was the last time you actually looked at it in the last 20 years?
He's a great advocate for it, but I just wish he would execute that role better. But I just see him come up, and it's like he says a lot of shit about a lot of things. So it's not an entirely rugby-based opinion.
It's a personal opinion, just like, fuck him. No.
Just shut up. Like, it's not just him, right? It's lots of people who, if you got a weekly column to write and you're running out of ideas, you just got to keep going. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they write a column and they have a good idea. It's like, fuck, what do I do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. But yeah, I can understand that. God, that's a good one. That's a high bar set by both of you. I actually unfortunately for me, I don't know who I'm actually going to pick. And I was going to go.
Can I give you my B? I'll give you my B
sure.
one. I'll just type it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one stays in the chat. That one stays in the chat.
If anyone can actually guess what Nick typed, go to our Twitter, guess it.
Yeah, guess in the Twitter. Yeah, you can say that now.
We'll give you a follow if you can get it right.
Yeah. All right. I've got a couple. I've got two. I'm going to stick to two. And I'll stick less rugby personalities, actual sometimes players. Like, it's really easy to go for like someone like Johnny Sexton or whatever, because just he's been so vocal and all that stuff. Hey, Joe Marler can also be pretty annoying as a personality, but he's now cancelled, courtesy of having a go at the haka while we were away on break, and turning that into a shitstorm. I mean, I've got to go with the classic, Eddie Jones. Like,
pretty good vanilla choice there, Nick.
I feel like it is vanilla, but it also will lead to an extra point coming on as well. I must admit, I've been increasingly looking at Squidge's rugby posts and stuff about Warren Gatland, and then I've also been watching press conferences with Warren Gatland, and I don't know, something's grinding my gears about him at the moment as well. There's kind of a similar mentality between him and Eddie. They've got a particular approach of molding their players, and then I think there was a press conference and he blamed the ref in their loss to Fiji. And I'm like, well, you just got beaten by a better team. That's my answer to that question. You got beat. Your team was objectively worse. Like, he sent Warren. He sent the wrong player off the bench. How do you do that? How do you make that error? Like, sending a player off the bench, like that, and it's like, oh crazy. No, that wasn't the person that I wanted to send on.
That is crazy. That's so crazy.
Clearly, I don't want to speak on whether he's on change rooms and stuff and whether he's regathered or lost it, but something is clearly not well there. But I mean, Eddie, let's be honest, he's so annoying. He's so annoying. Just like he made the whole all of 2023 about him, and it backfired in his face. And every single time, no disrespect to Japanese rugby, but every single time Japan loses, it feeds my soul a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair, Sean.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that while he's in charge.
Like, it's harsh on the Japanese team because, you know, we all remember 2015 and how good that was under him.
Yeah.
But again, you're not getting that coach anymore. You're getting one of the last 2 or 3 years who burnt through several assistant coaches and have essentially led to an entire book being made about him by Danny Kerr, and basically going through his old school treatments and how he just didn't learn. So, like, again, I'll still have a soft spot for the 2003 and 2015 Eddie, but this iteration is one of those ones we hopefully forget about when we start talking, 10, 15 years down the track about how good of a coach Eddie Jones was.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Well, with that being said, let's dive away from annoying personalities and then dive headlong into this amazing performance at Twickenham by the Wallabies. So much interesting chat leading into this game, as we've kind of alluded to. Of course, Ben Young said, yeah, don't make me laugh, don't give me a chance. Of course, Campo said a lot himself, talking about the Wallabies are going to get their asses handed to them. And then after they picked up the win, said, oh, yeah, I said all that stuff to make sure to motivate them. That was what I was doing. But regardless of all the off-field chatter, on the field, the boys let the rugby do the talking. And they were in that game. What was most impressive to me was that even despite the clear challenges of even being 2 tries down, they didn't give up. They focused and they worked really, really hard. This opening question to you both, and Mr. Hartman, I'll throw to you first. On the subject of talking about player ratings and stuff, I was earlier today was doing the ratings, and among the people who a lot of people really thought was amazing was, of course, Twickitau, who absolutely killed it at inside centre, Bobby V, Angus Bell, Tommy Wright, and of course then we've got to mention the man himself, the debutant Joseph Sualihi, also killing it as well. Who was your man of the match?
Yeah, this is a real toughie. That's always a good thing. I'd have to say, look, just off the top of my head, look, I think Bobby V, because I thought there was a lot of hard work from our locks, especially and a back row just in the ruck, and Bobby V not only did that, but he was a go forward in that second half. I think once he started getting forward, the whole team started getting forward, so he'd be my man of the match. Swiley. I don't know if I'm going to open up a can of worms saying his name and discussing him. I thought, as everyone knows, to play your first professional game, he played amazingly well. As a game itself, he played pretty well, and he did some spectacular things. Spectacular in the sense you go, ooh, and you can see it. But I think it's just the English, because the English don't have that kind of athleticism in their sports. Whereas us Australians are used to it. But we don't have technique, and tactics is not really our thing. So I think that's part of the reason why it got wowed and he got the man of the match. But anyway, Bobby V.
I think it was a little bit, that man of the match was a little bit of just, that naivety of the English being like, oh, this is, his first game back in rugby, first game playing professional rugby union. Let's see how he goes. Completely forgetting that, like, 100 or 200 kilometers up the road, maybe, even if that, he played in a World Cup for Samoa in rugby league like 2 years ago. Like, he played union last 4 years ago. Like, the dude's built for a big stage. And, well, yeah, there are more influential players out there. Like, I would say Angus Bell was probably my man of the match. Just the way he just threw people around. Just kept, getting us over the advantage line and just cooking. Another shout out, Tom Wright, I thought was exceptional.
Yeah,
like, his decision-making has got so much better.
And I said this before in a pod a couple months ago during Rugby Championship, but the fact that he is so good and he's ironed out all those kinks and he's just fantastic is a real kind of testament and maybe an example to sticking with the player. I'm sure it maybe took him about 10 tests, 15 tests to get there. I'm not sure how many caps he's got. But man, his decision-making is excellent now. And just the fact that, sometimes he does crazy things where he's just like, I just want to beat you for fun. I just want to step you for fun. But it's just perfect every time. And in a couple of phases, look, I've got up Twickenham and my memory's a bit hazy, but it helped us get out of a hole that we would have been in a hole if we just maybe, took the tackle and just kept the ruck and the ball in play. But just the fact he stepped them more, he decided to kick it. One, I can't remember, Nathan, you might be able to help me here, but in the second half, he ripped a guy. And, because he ripped a guy, got in the middle, got in the gap, up at the 50-meter mark and set at 10 meters. So I real big fan of him. And I really love it because people were hating on him.
And little things as well, one of those players off his own 22 where he identified there was 3 type 5 forwards in a row, and he went, "Well, hang on a minute, I'm quicker than you. I'm just going to burst you," and instantly got us back in the attack. Like stuff like that he was doing, but with 12, 13, and 15 in the line, and be still I'm going to burst you. It's a lot more calculated now. It's a lot more, identifying who's in front of you and who can I actually beat, or rather than just, it's like the classic Simpsons, good old ruck, nothing beats ruck. He would just he would get the ball and be like, what am I going to do? I'm going to fake him out with a kick and run. And it's like, yeah, that's great. That works once or twice. When you've done it for the 6th or 7th time, it's not going to work again. You keep calling ruck, they're eventually going to stop you. But he's got that out of his game, which is awesome. So to go back to your original question, Nick, I think Bell and Tom Wright were my 2 sort of man of the matches from this game. And it could have been 10 or 12. It's awesome.
Yeah. Can we just say, before we move on as well, throwing a name out there, I thought Marcus Smith, he did a couple of things. And I remember saying to you, Nathan, because we both got up to watch a game, patrician style, weren't those replay plebs, Nick. But he just did shit that was unplayable. Like that grubber kick. And the commentators they've read the play perfectly, But still, he just managed to wait that, grab a kick for old mate in the left wing. Fucking phenomenal performance. And he's only, 13?
I think he's about 8 or 9. I think he's still 21, actually. He's been 21 for about 6 years now.
Yeah.
There's a couple of kicks he put in, which just dead set perfect, and he deserved so much better than to be that man who made the wrong read to let Jaw go through. Like, he's just such good talent, and someone who I thought was just a bit average. Like, I openly admitting in Gagger group chat, message groups, I've been like, yeah, he's average. Like, I don't say hyping him. He's just he's a pace.
He was just slightly more flashy for an English fly half than usual.
Yeah, he was a flashy Lolo Seo. But now I can be like, all right, I say it all come together now. I can see why these guys want him starting at a Lions sort of tour next year. Like, he was great.
Adding us on some final points for you guys on both this, I think we got a couple of key answers here, in my opinion. Nathan, you posed a point or a question in our last pod back in late October about how we've got a squad we have the 64 players who are going to whatever. We have a lot of good players, but we need those great players. We need those world-class players, those 6 or 7 world-class players who can stand up in those critical moments, that can deliver us, make us competitive against the Lions and potentially win us games that previously we wouldn't have. We got our answer in this match, because there was 6 or 7 players who I thought played probably their best game in years in this match. I mean, we've already talked about Bobby V, who has been consistent. We can sing about Tom Wright till the cows come home. Fraser McWright, I also think, was unsung, underappreciated in this match for his performances, probably because he was just surrounded by quality all around him. Additionally, I thought he played a great game as well. This gave me a couple of answers. With Suolihi, what really impressed me about him was it suddenly felt like we have an athlete. In the past with the Wallabies, it has felt like, oh, we're so close, like we're one pass away from that particular move coming off, and it would have been in a gap, and we're suddenly that one moment away from that thing coming together. You could see what they were trying to do, and you could see the class that was coming through there, and you could see what they were aiming for. And it's a big reason why we kept coming back, because you could see that this team was good and that there was something in there. It's just they couldn't string those critical moments together that would help them to win as many games. Suddenly, Suolihi steps into the picture. Naturally talented athlete. And it suddenly felt like his inclusion freed up Twickitau, freed up Wright, and it felt like a situation of his inclusion there made the rising tide lift all ships, in all honesty. He just felt like that last piece that suddenly made this attacking side so dangerous. And, I mean, no disrespect to Paisami in any way, shape, or form, because Paisami is a classic sledgehammer, but he's left him, I think, the decision. It was a bold move to put him in the centres, to kick him off. That's a baptism by fire. But Suolihi's made eye, and he's great. He's phenomenal. I think, and for me, what was particularly good about this was he freed up the player who's going to be my player of the match, and that's Len Twickitau. I think Twickitau was absolutely phenomenal. It was helped as well that he had, a quality pack that was going forward. Angus Bell, in my opinion, is the most valuable player in Australian rugby now. I think just as an actual beast of a machine, proper scrummager, really dangerous player. You notice the difference in the scrum and in the set piece when he's on. And it's good as well that we've got someone like, an experienced head in Slipper coming off the bench, even though, of course, I think inevitably, you'll have someone like Isaac Clear who will probably come in, and then also someone like Alan Alato who's got many years left in the tank. But Twickitau, I was really worried about Suolihi and Twickitau, and what really stunned me in this match was how well those two clicked together. It was like they'd been playing together for years. in that moment. And I don't know how familiar they are having played together, like in terms of if they played at schoolboy level or anything like that. But whatever it is, he freed it up. And Twickitau, I mean, what better to sum up Twickitau's performance than that fuck off filth of a pass to Max Jorgensen in front of freaking Marcus Smith, who was left bewildered in the slow-mo. I will watch that on a loop until the end of time. So Lenny Twickitau.
Good old Twickitau. It's great.
Good old
Twickitau thing.
Yeah. Hey, just, dude, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And, yeah, it just felt like a glimpse into a Wallabies that is finally firing on all cylinders and not spluttering to get out of the driveway. That's kind of what it felt like at Twickenham. Good on them. Good fucking on them. They played really well, and they deserve credit for that, all of them. I think they all played a really great match, and credit where it is due. My question as well, now off the back of this, we're obviously going to turn our attention to Wales relatively soon, but I think also it's this moment, particularly considering how settled England was under Borthwick until this point. Do we also feel like it was a situation of England also underperforming at Twickenham? Maybe a sense of complacency going in against the Wallabies? Any sort of pressure situation? What else do we think played into this match outside of just those individual performances? Because, of course, while those individual performances were great, there's many aspects as well in play.
Yeah, the main one, Ben Young talking shit.
Oh, yeah. How much did that... Do you know how much that pissed them off? Did that actually piss them off?
Well, apparently, you can see in video England put out, like, Lukan Salcarlotto was like, where's Ben Youngs? Where's he at? Like, he was looking for him. Like, Lenny Twickitau himself put a video of him being like, don't waste my time. I generally reckon the shit talk. And I mean, like, you have that shit talk, and then, David Campese going on, bringing in Greg Cornelison, that was them learning about Greg Cornelison unlocked all their talents. And, he was just inspiring them. He was motivating him. That's all it was. It wasn't his usual. Usual just same old clips of him just talking absolute rubbish about the Australian way and all that sort of stuff. It was just inspiring the boys. And you're like, God, shut the fuck up. But like, I actually do think, like, and this is what you need. Sometimes you just need someone to just talk a bit of shit, just whether it's to fire up a side or just add a bit of spice to a contest. And I reckon that it added a bit to it. Whether it lifted the Australians, look, we'll never know how much it actually lifted to them. But it's nice. It's nice to claim that was the main reason. It was just a lippy English person getting high mighty and talking smack.
Hang on. I'm just seeing if he's. Oh no, he hasn't blocked the pod. Let's follow him.
Oh, what Campo?
Yeah.
Officially, DKO is now following Campo.
my take on this is I love it. I think it's great and it should happen more often. What I hate is like the media response, which is like, "Ooh, did you see what he said? Oh, is that going to fire you up?" And it's like, shut up, like, go away, stop creating drama. But I guess the real thing that happened is that the players obviously kind of feed off it. I mean, it helps them focus, and these are different personality types to anyone around here. Incredibly focused, incredibly competitive. So it makes sense that they obsessed about it. But I think it's just so stupid. Like, it's just shit talk, right? That's all it is. But I love it, and there needs to be more of it. And I wish it's not like, oh, you shit talked and you motivated them, so I won't shit talk again in case I accidentally motivate another team. I hope Danny Youngs just keeps doing it. Ben Youngs, sorry. I keep getting Danny Kerr and Ben Youngs confused. They do kind of look the same. I just wish they would keep doing it forever. It's interesting and it's good, and I really like it. And if sport turns into this, and it already is turning into that, don't say anything, be polite, be Switzerland all the time, just say it's game of three halves kind of shit. It's boring and it loses its edge. Remember at school when I did it. I did Muhammad Ali, and there was and we did this documentary about him, which I first saw in the Simpsons episode, that made me understand when Homer becomes a boxer. And he's just going around going like, I'm the greatest guy around, I'm the greatest boxer that will ever be. Now, how good is it? I want more of that. If Marcus Smith said that shit, goes, I'm the best fire half in the world, then did that, but yes, thank you. That's great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the same reason why, you can't help but admire someone like Conor McGregor, because, yes, they might get the snot beaten out of them, but they're clearly just going off pure inhibitions and just going being ready to shit talk you and say you took a shit drunk repeatedly, and driving it nuts.
So he had that guy from Russia, that Chechen guy who's Muslim, and he was going a bit, anti-Muslim for a bit. And then after Khabib beat him, this clip came up on my feed the other day of Khabib jumping the fence after he beats him to start beating up his Conor McGregor's entourage. But how good is it? It needs to happen more.
As soon as you get people to understand that, it was all just a bit of fun at the end of the day. If you're willing to just embrace a little bit of that villain role, like what Rico's done and been able to turn himself into this sort of this one man against the entire island army, it creates interest. It creates people. And unless you want to say, I don't want media to hype on about it, this is how you find out about it. Player A talks shit about player B. Media reports on it. Media then asks player B, hey, what happened when player A talks shit about you? And then that's how you just keep it going. It's more. I think what you meant, what sort of better way to sort of describe it is, you need media to be the vehicle for it, rather than just the constant trying to drive it. A, when it's not there, or B, just when it just ramming it over and over again. By the point where you're just I'm sick of it.
Well, and also leading with it, Ben Youngs is embarrassed because he said, it's no, that fucking good on Ben Youngs for making this exciting. That's what I wish it was more about. And the Rico Ioane thing is fantastic. Lenny Katau having speak less. I need to put a carousel, which for our older folks, carousel on Instagram. So for our older folks, there's multiple images. And he did images of the game. I think the first three, and then the fourth one was the clip of Ben Young speaking. And it's fantastic.
What a lad!
I think he had a song as well. It was Keith Urban's song. It's "Speak Less" or something like that, or "Speak something like that."
Yeah, it was
playing over the top. I can't remember what it was called.
And also, congratulations to your colleagues who put the photo of the Korean director at the end of their little carousel, saying, "Oh, this is cinema to me." Yes, thank you. Can you tell them, Nathan? Can you tell them they've got to put Hideo Kojima in their next one?
I definitely know that is, so sure.
He's the guy who made Metal Gear Solid.
Sure.
So his guy made Metal Gear Solid. So he's got this cult following, ironic cult following, and he's on Twitter, and he posts movie reviews on Twitter. And because he's Japanese, Japanese never really criticize something to your face. So they're very polite. And so when he doesn't like a movie, he just goes, "I saw this movie." And otherwise, he writes this long essay of how he liked it.
It was. It's up there. One of my favorite sayings now. It's it is one. That was one of the matches. He was one of the players. So the Keith Urban song was "Wasted Time." Wasted time.
Oh, I love it.
It's good. You need some shit talk.
You do. I reckon let's use this and segue on to this upcoming weekend against Wales, because on the topic of crazy news and crazy topics, Wales are in a weird place right now. I think it's fair to say. Off the back of a first time, I could be as verbose about it as I like, but I'll say, for the interest of topic discussion and aimless meandering, which we do enough of on this podcast. Go check out all of Squid Rugby's videos about Wales, because a Welsh man is going to talk about Welsh rugby. Let him do it. And it's fair to say that 10 losses on the trot, a first-time loss at home to Fiji, And on top of it, all of the controversies around Welsh rugby and Warren Gatland not coming out looking the best at it so far, it's fair to say they need a result, and they need a result quickly, and they need a result badly, and they will be desperate. So going in this weekend at Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, where Australia, the last time we played them was probably Dave Rennie's last match as coach, where Australia came from behind to beat Wayne Pivac's side with Lachie Lonergan crossing in the final minute to seal the deal, which was a phenomenal come-from-behind win. But I want to feel like we should be confident that we're going to go in and put together a convincing performance, particularly after this England game. But I can
answer you right now, Nick.
I'm nervous.
Wales are crab juice.
No, but I'm nervous about
that. I hope that gets quoted. I hope you get someone Wales online. That weirdo in Wales will pick it up.
We've got quite crafty going.
I'm nervous about this game. I'm nervous about this game.
I'm calm.
I don't know why.
I'm calm.
They're nervous. We're calm.
Say,
as the deciding vote here, I'm with Nick of the Wasili of Kind. Like I am kind of. This is just such a letdown spot. Like we've seen so many of these performances before, where we look at it and go,
I agree.
"Hell yeah, that was awesome," and then the week after we go, "Fuck, what just happened?
Shit.
Why do we suck again?"
But I've been thinking this, right? This always happens. Everyone's crazy. Swiley might, drop the kickoff several times if he plays next game. The difference I really feel is in the last couple of games, we couldn't perform for more than 40 minutes. But when we did perform, it was out of this world. And I feared at the English game, which again, I don't think someone's ever really brought up. This is a chat we had before we started the pod, talk about things we haven't talked about. I felt that first 20 minutes in the England game, it was us being shit. I'm like, okay, we'll come back. And we did for probably 70 minutes, 60 minutes, 65 minutes. And then England took over again, and then 5 minutes at the end. And I feel that we're coming together a lot better now that we've got Skelton back and Krevy back. If I assume Krevy's going to play because Dylan Beach is going home. Which, again, fantastic player to go back to man of the match. Out of this fucking world. I can't believe it. Great player. But if Krevy comes into centres because Harry Potter's down the other wing, is that correct, Nathan? Maybe they'll get someone from Australia,
You grab Max Jones and chuck him in the wing, and then you play Krevy or Harry Potter as that 23rd player.
Yeah. So I still think that's enough for Wales. Wales almost beat us in Melbourne, which was a game I went to. Our first game in Sydney, not so much. But they're quite bad at the moment.
I know they're quite bad. That's why I'm nervous. Because I
this is what the English were saying about us last week.
Yeah.
I guess, true, but I've seen them play.
I've seen them play, and I know that they're bad, but there have been so many instances where, like,
that's true. You're true.
There's a team this is a team that we should objectively beat, and then we somehow play down or punch down, whether it be due to complacency, whether it be due to anything else. My hope in response to that is that, like, the one issue that is always Wallabies have always troubled with is consistency, game to game. Was that moment in England the moment that they realized, like, the actual element of professional, like, not, I don't want to say professionalism, but like the moment where everything clicked
going for.
Yeah, this is what you're like, everything that clicks, and you are just trusting in the system, and it doesn't matter who you're playing against. It doesn't matter if it's the top team in the world, or if it's this. You have your way of playing it, and you nail it, and that is what you're focusing on. And it's not necessarily, you're not thinking so much about the opposition over there. Like, obviously you're looking at them in front of you, but trusting your own ways to run away with the game. Like, I don't know, like how South Africa do, or how New Zealand do in comparison. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
Well, I threw this out there, and while I was thinking this thought, I thought of Czech's 2015 team. and they were still a bit like this, or Checker's latest team, is that I feel that there is a core team. There's a good leadership vibe there. So you got Jake Gordon, Tate, Harry Wilson, at the very least, those three guys. If you add in Will Skelton to the mix, James Slipper, Alala that we have that leadership and level-headedness, which is what you're speaking to, Nick. The fact that when we're going to shit, we don't panic. We just get back on board.
Yes.
Which we've already done twice against New Zealand and against England. And I think that we are
three times in Argentina as well. We won.
Yeah, that's true. And we lost Argentina the next game. And we can talk about Argentina later because they played after the Wallabies and I watched a bit of it. We were shitting ourselves that second game. Quite literally.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were. I think we were literally in bathroom. Like, apparently there wasn't that bad of a bug going through. We might have been literally shitting ourselves during that game.
I just think that now there is a strong, especially someone like Jake Gordon, because Jake Gordon, he's one of those dudes who's a scrapper. All he does is hard work. He's probably never been the most talented kid growing up or whatever, or the most talented, but he works fucking hard. And he's a smart dude. And I think that's a difference, and especially that's Joe Schmidt's difference. Kind of the same with Noah. Like, he's not that flashy. He just needs to get to that dependability, which I feel he slowly is. Don't really want to go down that tangent, but I just feel there's a bit more. Harry Wilson as well. Waited. Fraser McRae waited for his chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think there is a bit more of that gumption. You know, Wright has grown as a character. It's like a character, you know, you could write a HBO show about that dude. You know, the character arc is so strong.
I think as well, like, on top of that, you're now sort of saying that in the discipline as well. Like, we're not copping those stupid yellow cards anymore.
Yeah.
Like, look how many.
Yeah, we are.
I think I would actually love to work it out. I think it's been maybe 3 of the last 4 games we haven't had a yellow card against us.
Yeah, the only one that we had was in Argentina, which was Andrew Kellaway in the 80th minute. So right at the end of the match, so it didn't really matter. I think it was a penalty. It was like he stopped a try being scored on and was sent off a technicality. So it was and by that point the game was already over. So it didn't make much of a difference. I don't know if that was also due to like the fact that I think Wilson's just he's a really good disciplinarian and his leading from the front approach seems to work, or not. But whatever it is, it clearly works. I think on that point, Nick, from what I have heard, I mean, I haven't been in camp and also haven't met the man himself, but this is where I am hoping the experience and headspace of Joe Schmidt really shines. Because I have a feeling if there's, I mean, you know, he took the Wallabies to a 4 or 5 match winning streak. And even at the end of that, he was like, there is so much, we could be so much better than that. He was very honest and upfront about it. And if there's any person that can probably, you know, stop them getting their head up their own asses, hopefully it's him. And this is hopefully a moment where if they suddenly come out in Cardiff and produce a performance that's equally as good, then you can start to see, okay, now we're serious here. Now we're on.
Your pals, Brett and Harry. They did a pod with LSL earlier this year, and he said it was crazy going from Queensland, where he always got picked. He was 24, and because of the team at that time, he was one of the oldest ones there, to going to England and having to fight for his place with guys who you know, just never would make an international side, and how it just completely changed him. Whereas in Australia, it's, you know, you just got to play well for your club and you'll be picked. But that's not the case in England. And that's what it really affected him and changed him. And so to what you're saying, Nick, I think that kind of on-the-ground leadership will come from people like Skelton and Karevi, which probably doesn't get talked about, but why the coaches love them. Because not so much that they've been humbled, but their ego's taken a bit of a shine. It's been polished a bit just by being outside of the Australian environment, which is one of those intangible things that you kind of go, what's wrong with Australian rugby? And I think this is probably one of them.
Yeah, it's one of those
Australians
ones,
like Australians like we don't explore. Sorry, Nathan.
or some of those things you just need to experience a different environment. Like if you're told how great you are, keep going through. And it's a conversation that I've mentioned before. The whole Ben Batcher's rant on, I think was it Ben Donaldson being picked over to Tane Edmond like 3 or 4 years ago, and the whole rant was around these 2019, 2020 junior Wallabies, they're so good, but what have they achieved? And now you've seen those guys go through a bit of setbacks, whether it's all those guys getting dropped by Eddie or I guess from a wider perspective, Lurkan going overseas, even though he wasn't part of that group, but someone who was thrown in pretty quickly to a Wallabies environment. Like you can now say that sort of setback molded them. And sometimes you just need to get away from, if you're in a system that's just going to keep telling you how good you are, or that you identified as good, you're going to maybe play them a bit more than maybe what they're up to at that level at that time, before then coming back and then all of a sudden, like, seeing them at their true potential. Like, and that's one of those things. I think it's the exact same reason why your Mac Hansons and your Jack Dempseys of the world end up kicking on somewhere else, because you told them.
Sione Tuipulotu, who's now they're frothing over in Scotland, and he barely got picked for the Waratahs.
Yeah, all it took was just that setback, and that sort of hurdles to overcome had to happen somewhere, and it just so happened it happened here. It's just one of those things that happens, and some athletes need, while some can just sort of get through it, game by game, and just essentially piss excellence from the start, so they can just keep their position. But people forget Rob Valentini. I think missed the 2019 World Cup when he was still a very good Super Rugby player, and that sort of molded him as well. So it's just one of those things you got to. It happens to players differently.
This is my next thing, right? So I kind of agree with you, and I kind of disagree with you. And I think the part where it just happens, that's true. But it's about increasing the chance of it happening. And I think that difference is coaching and culture and environment. Because Rob Valentini, let's not forget, I think that Dan McKellar, he was completely different to, let's say, Checker. He was like, yeah, brothers, whatever, go crazy. But he was more of that kind of New Zealand type, humble, will stick to it. He also got the opportunity to stick with that team and grow them and build them. And the Brumbies system is just so much better. But what the Brumbies do generally is they take these guys in and, they get discarded by whatever. Ire Simone, for example, from the Waratahs, who played really well at Norths, went to Waratahs, nothing really happened, went to Brumbies, well, he's a great player. And Rob Valentini came through that. So I think that is coaching. And Rob Kearney, the old Irish fullback, played for the Force 2 years ago, and was just like the coaching's abysmal over there. So I think that's the difference. But it's really intangible. You get someone like Michael Hooper, who was playing for the Wallabies since he was, they knew he was going to play for the Wallabies when he was still in nappies kind of thing. But I think that, and I think the Australian psyche thing, and so there's a guy at my work who is a soccer coach, and he almost got picked up by Blackburn in England. And I was saying to him, and just about this kind of topic, that I think Australian sports were all very athletic, leaping and jumping and running and all that, which kind of goes into an NRL point about Swali. They're like, oh, look, you can run and jump and stuff. And that's all rugby league is now. Everyone talks about the guys scoring the tries in the corner, but you don't really talk about the props running up the guts, just tiring the team out, that open up the spaces. But in England and Europe, especially, there's more of that culture where it is about, because, maybe it's because it had muddy pitches rather than our hard, firm pitches. But there's more of that work on technique, work on tactics. The English scrum, for example, used to be their strength. Marcus Smith is an anomaly, with his flashiness. But I think that's a big kind of cultural difference between appreciation of sports and to kind of talk about all that thing. I think that's why, English, they're good and they can do things very steadily, but we have that X factor. And then that's fair. And if you can marry that to the technique, off you go.
And its name's Angus Bell.
Maybe this also leads into a broader point of that kind of X factor marrying with technique. Like, there's kind of one key point from this weekend, which we'll probably get to in a second, about the fact that it wasn't just Australia that won, but it was all Southern Hemisphere teams that clean swept the Northern Hemisphere.
Oh, and Hamish.
And Hamish.
Hamish won.
Yeah.
The true winner. Him and the
winner.
Portuguese chicken, undefeated.
It's so true. But maybe that also leads into a point there that why is it that at every World Cup or at every major event or even in a situation like this, even when the Northern Hemisphere has clearly the more professional structures, the longer seasons, the more time to actually build that cohesion, why can they not, when the time is critical, win the biggest events or, deliver results like this? And how is it that we are able to come back? How? And I think it's a multifaceted answer and a complicated answer. If you want us to do a pod on it, let us know. But
it's really interesting, though. It is honestly really interesting. And I really wish they did a deep dive. But we all know one answer will be cohesion, which of course Gainline Analytics came out and said that's why.
Of course it does.
Yeah. As a finishing point before we kind of dive into the last key news points of the week. Let's preview this match. This match against Wales. Before we got sidetracked on a tangent. Does Australia win? Nathan.
Yeah, I still think they win. And I just like looking at the squad even though I said I'm nervous, I still think our team's better. Just looking at the squad, even compared to July, you're going to have Angus Bellback playing, probably Will Skelton. Twickitau comes back in, Sami Karevi at least. Max Jorgensen and Felipe Dungunu are probably here and there where they've been playing, but you're going to have it's a stronger Australian side. And I'm not sort of saying that the Welsh side isn't. They're going to have Gareth Anscombe back, Jack Morgan, a couple of other stars coming through. I think if we can get on them early, they'll crack. That's the key. If we can get out to an early lead, and yes, I know that's a bit rich when we were 12-0 down, but there seems to be real issues in that Welsh system. Again, simple stuff like making a substitution wrong like that doesn't happen with a side that is, matching it with the best in the world. I think if you can get to them early, get sort of that Millennium crowd or Principality, whatever it's called these days, quiet, and all of a sudden with that thought of, okay, here we go again, here's another loss, then you can really sort of make a statement with this win. So I reckon they get it done. I don't know by how much, but an Australian win is what I'm predicting.
Any disagreements, Nick?
No, I'm calm. I'm calm.
I like it.
I think I mean Nathan just listed a couple of the players I'd be back. But yeah, I think we'll win. I'm really kind of confident. Which I know what you're going to say, and I agree with you. But I understand. I mean, I understand how you feel, but I don't think I'm getting ahead of myself.
I think all right. For me, this is the moment. I'm going to go out on a limb here. This is the moment where can they make it a consistent result? Can they win some more matches? I mean, we did have a couple of back-to-back earlier this year against Wales and Georgia. It was like a 4 or 5 match streak. Now's the chance to win another one. I back them.
Who'd we beat in that 4 to 5 match winning streak? 2 Wales, 1 Georgia.
We
Portugal and Argentina.
And Argentina.
Actually, no. There was 2 games in South Africa.
Georgia and Portugal, wasn't it?
Yeah, Georgia and Portugal.
Yeah. So there was that too.
Georgia,
I back them.
Georgia.
Yeah. Also, just because watching that Wales game, as much as I do know that they're still a world-class side, and any side, I actually do think that Wales are a better chance to beat Australia than they are to beat Fiji, 100% honesty, just because just of the nature of their systems and stuff. If we produce another performance like that, even if we don't get to exactly the same level as we did against England, I know that would be enough to win. So let's trust them. I trust them. Come on, boys. Let's do it. Let's dive over to the last part of the pod. We'll talk about some kind of loose key news, other random topics and other things that we think about before we wrap up for the week. And the first news, Mr. Hartman, I believe it involves a certain Volandis individual.
Oh, yeah. Look, we could talk about this in the Swiley conversation, but look, we retweeted the tweet I made about the whole Swiley thing, and it's great to see NRL players, NRL fans getting really weird about it. Kind of funny, good kind of study and insecurity and all that kind of gear. But news today that Volandis rang up Channel 9 to ask him why rugby was getting so much good press. When,
If you need any conspiracy, if you need any further proof that there's a conspiracy against rugby union in the press, that is it right there.
I thought
Right, it's crazy.
It
is really crazy.
It's just more about Channel 9 being the personal PR agency for NRL.
Yeah. I plenty of other rugby league journalists. Like, what do we expect? An Australian team beating England is always going to garner people's attention, let alone rugby union. I guess what this whole thing shows to me is like they're like, as much as we sort of are the rusted on diehards, like there is a population out there that are just waiting for this team to be successful, to be like, all right, let me get on the bandwagon and support it. Like,
well, can I tell you guys, right? Because you both work in sports, so you're a bit, contaminated by the environment you're in. But the amount of people I talk to in my work, just out and about, who are kind of latent or they're lapsed Wallabies fans. Or they'd be like, oh, I prefer rugby union over rugby league. There are so many out there. And that's, like, you're right, that they're all just waiting for this to happen. And all those kind of the Wallabies first RA strategies all have this kind of survey knowledge. Just all we got to make them do is win.
Like, it's one of those things. I particularly noticed when I was walking around, just seeing a little bit more gold jerseys, and you just you can see it. It's just all it needs, just some kind of successful point. And look, I like the influence Volandis has. Like, he's going to control media to make his investments more profitable. And anyone else in their position would be doing the exact same thing. Like, if Hamish was still chairman, he'd be doing it for rugby. Like, it's just common sense, really, from their perspective.
It is funny though.
It is very funny. It is very funny that all of a sudden is getting bitter and twisted about us winning, as a code, winning one game.
I also want to just shout out on your point, Nick. There's a Batuta advocate. You can see it on YouTube. That is Sydney Swan fans grown nervous about half their fan base being lured back to rugby after Wallabies glory.
Open up the comments.
I mean, if you need any more summary, then there's a good one.
No, open up the comments.
I think my favorite comment was move over Isaac Heaney phrase and corrects my new friend. That was good.
Us rugby fans will welcome our cowardly comrades back with open arms.
Who said it, Nick?
Yeah, I know. I said it. I'm in trouble. But yeah,
I said it.
I know you said it. Yes, you did.
Yeah, that
did
was
say
my
it.
point by saying open the comments.
Instead. Second piece of news or key point. We alluded to it right at the start of the podcast, but I think it's fair to say Hamish McLennan's been doing the victory laps off the back of Sualihi's strong opening performance, and he's come out and claimed that Australia or Rugby Australia should set up a second Super Rugby side in Western Sydney and make Joseph Sualihi the marquee player.
It's nuts. It's fucking nuts. Like, he is. The truth there is that from a visibility and marketing and sales perspective, it would go bananas. But it's nuts. It is really the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight this weekend.
Yeah.
Great.
It gets people talking, but it's a prize fight, Yeah.
Like, let's focus on getting the Waratahs back to being strong first, before we start looking at two teams.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, the Kings boy from that area, that's one of the things rugby union is. When you look at it, is very much lacking a Western Sydney presence. But let's do one thing right first. Let's get the Waratahs right first. Then we'll look at other options if we go back down and Super Rugby AU route or whatever. Again, Hamish enjoys Hamish and just getting himself in sort of media and shit like that. The reality is he's well more famous and well more rich than I'll ever be. So I can't really sit here and bag the man. I got to respect what he's done, but his time as chairman is finished. We don't need to hear from him. But you don't hear from Rob Clark. Who's the? Yeah, you don't hear from Andy Maros anymore. You don't hear from Rob. I think it's Rob
you
Clark.
do hear from John Neal from time to time.
Yeah, but that's rare.
Bill Pulver.
Bill Pulver. Yeah, you don't hear from Bill Pulver.
Or Raylene
Rob
Castle.
Clark,
Rob Clark.
Rob Clark.
I think Raylene got fucking booted and kicked out, and bullied out of her position.
But that's the thing. But they move on, and you're just all right, cool. Hamish can't move on. It's all right, we're done. We've heard. Thank you for the Portuguese chicken. Thank you for Joseph. Thank you for Eddie. We're good. Thanks.
Next piece of news. Next piece of topic. The Super Rugby squads got announced for 2025. That's the big, key, exciting news. Some fine-looking squads, I must say, and I wonder why. It must be due to a whole bunch of players from another Super Rugby franchise being squeezed in. Can't make any comments there. But does look like there's some seriously good quality sides. But it's not just who is in; it is also who is out. And that we head suddenly off to the Queensland Reds, and a certain individual is off to La Rochelle, aren't they, Nathan? Finally.
Yeah, Tim Ryan. We didn't see that coming. I'm fucking with you. Relax. I'm messing with you. So, yeah, Siliasi Vunivalu. And my understanding is this could only be a short-term joker deal, and then he makes a return to league or somewhere else. But yeah, in terms of clubs I was picking him to go to, one of the premier clubs in the world wasn't on the list. He was 6 on the Reds depth chart, I want to say. If we're behind, we're thinking of Campbell, Ryan, Greeley, Aubrey. I'm missing somebody. I know, but I can't remember who. So I'm missing somebody, but we'll say 5th, 6th on depth chart, and he ends up at La Rochelle. Really? Okay. Fair play to him, but.
Is it an agent thing? Is this the same as what was the fucking bullshit that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago when it was the NRL season? The NRL season had ended. No, it was about the girls, Maddie Levy and
the Levi sisters potentially
about going to NRLW, and they're like no, and all this crap, and he's like, it's just the journalists. Making it up to their agent sources. You don't think this is real? No, I think it's real, but I think this is the agent saying to the club, it's like, I've got you all these deals, so you got to do one for me and sign this dude.
Yeah, potentially.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
What would they have? What would an Australian agent have over Vunivalu? Over La Rochelle. Sorry. I actually have no idea who's. Let's have a look.
Because Will Skelton plays for La Rochelle.
Yeah.
And Tuerika Barlow, who was almost going to, can play for the Wallabies.
I guess there could be a little bit in that, but.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the only way it makes sense to me. I mean, what have they seen in him?
Matt, look, the thing is, he is such a talent if you can get the best out of it. The problem is that the Reds proved that was a massive if over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
It's true there.
But look, fair play to him.
Yeah. Hope if he does well, good on him. But might be fair. After many years, it's finally we might be seeing the last of him in Australian rugby. The other big news I will mention is, of course, Nathan Lawson leaving Australian. He's off to the NRL after leaving the Australian Sevens program. And then a final point on all of this would be, can we just stop and appreciate how jacked that Waratahs squad is? Now I see them all together.
Yes.
Fuck me. There's some big
Terrifying.
names in that squad. Guys, if you don't make finals, like, what are you? That's the simple truth.
Yeah,
That squad is
it's
jacked.
fucking great, isn't it? It's fucking awesome.
It's filth.
Yeah, man, you're right. They should make finals.
They should. No excuse.
But
No excuse.
If they do, and the Wallabies do well in the last remaining matches, I mean, that's what you need and that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the Western Force team, looks fucking good too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's solid. Yeah, there's not as many flashy players as the Waratahs, but it's just a really deep squad all around. My only concern for the Waratahs is like if your second rows are a bit, you need a Motacero to kick on. You need one of Lee Warner, Sinclair, Angelo Smith to really kick on as a second option. It's not your best. And then your sort of tight heads behind Taniela disturb me. Like there is not that many options. I think you got CFC for Ramon, Dan Botha. Like these guys who are Dan Botha coming off a serious injury, CFC and Mono who barely started for the Force, behind Taniela who, let's face it, hasn't had the best track record when it comes to injuries. You're going to need that person to play 30, 35 plus minutes.
Yeah.
And when you've got...
It's a shame that Archer Holtz has gone off to England, I think.
Yeah.
Because he
would have been a really good second option. I think they've missed the trick with... This is my only sort of issue with their roster, or only complaint, is having Angus Bell, Isaac Kylera, Tom Lambert, 3 really good loose heads in the same roster, but you're just like short on tight heads. You need to almost train someone to go across, which is easier said than done.
They're probably going to have to do that. Like, also for those players, it would be in the interest of one of them to try and be able to play on both, just to try and get more game time. Because realistically speaking, Taniella's probably going to have a couple of niggles, assuming he can bounce back from the injury from the season that he's had. If he's down due to injury, then the boy is going to need some time to recover.
And thank you for saying that about Tongan Thor, not Angus Bell.
Well, I mean, we don't talk about that. Yeah, we don't know what that is. We don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, we don't speak about that. But I mean, also not to discount the Brumbies and the Red squad as well. I mean, that Red squad also looks absolutely jacked.
They just signed a lad from Norths.
Yes, Jude Gibbs. Jude Gibbs is very solid 10.
And it's just one of those frustrating things. Go to the Waratahs first.
I don't think the Waratahs signed Lawson.
They don't have room for him. Don't have room for him.
Again, the Red squad, Red second rowers depth is stupid. Like they've got Salakar Lotto, Canham, Angus Blythe, Ryan Smith. Who else am I missing? Sarah Uru can play there. Like there's 3 or 4 players with Wallabies caps or Australia A caps, all fighting for like 2 starting positions. Like it's stupid depth that they're going to have. Plus, just casually 2 Australian captains and the Super Rugby Player of the Year as their back row. Mental.
Just like, casual.
Real talk. Yeah. Because I will get more into this in 25. If you look at these sides, if we get dusted by the Highlanders, if multiple Australian sides get dusted by the Highlanders, God help us. Because like there's so many Australians in that side, and that Highlander side is solid to okay, but not like, come on, they can't be finishing 6th this year.
Yeah, they need a win. We need a couple of teams in the top of the ladder. Let's be honest here. It can't just be. Yeah, I know. It can't just be the Brumbies in the semis again. There needs to be like a Reds or a Tars in there as well. Just on principle, you just got to get in on principle, given the depth in there. So here's hoping that's the case. We'll finish.
Sorry, Nick. 2 things we just missed out on there. Actually, one thing is not that we missed out on, but we talked about before. But one thing we missed out on is Jordan Patai has gone off the Reds list, and I actually think it's a great sign of the health of Australian rugby. Because he was a wonder kid at one point. No, we don't really Like Les Kiss was just like, okay, yeah, go do your own thing, and we're not clamoring for it, which I think is great.
Yeah, that's and like the reality is, like he can give the NFL a try, and still come back, in 6 or 9 months' time. Work, sign a short-term deal with the Reds towards the back end of the Super Rugby season, and still be around for a Lions tour. Maybe not in the Wallabies squad, but still playing a key role in a Red side that can upset a Lions team. Which, yeah, like that's actually gonna be a joy next year. Is like looking at all these players and being like, geez, you might make an Australian side, but far out. There's gonna be some we're gonna put together some seriously good Super Rugby sides to play the Lions with just those players that miss out on Wallaby selection.
Yeah, absolutely. And the second thing is, so we're talking about Waratah's tight head depth. I remember mentioning in a group chat, I hope Angus Bell sticks around, because if he gets injured, who's the next best? I don't think James Slip is it. And then Nathan, you said Dave Parecki. And I don't know if you understood what I said, because I'm like, are you saying Dave Parecki should go tight end? Is that your red hot take?
Angus Bell isn't a tight head.
Sorry, Lucy.
So you're trying to roast me here.
Sorry, Lucy.
This isn't coming through. Lucy, I'm not copping this. I'm not copping the drive-by in a group chat here.
I just got the word wrong, all right? I got the word wrong.
No, I just meant in terms
You're
of...
the one who said Parecki should change to loose head.
I did not say that.
You did. Look at the chat.
Because I'm throwing Wasiliev on the bus here. Nick then responded, "Oh yeah, but what about Lockie Lonergan?"
Oh, maybe you're it.
Whoa! We don't say that.
Whoa! We can't say that word anymore. It's true though.
All I'm saying is, if two people interpret it that way, you're the one wrong.
Yeah, it's your fault.
I'm not one of the wrong.
You're 100% the one wrong.
No, you both screwed up. Really,
You
are in the wrong. It's your fault.
Okay.
That's the answer.
Okay. Oh, sorry. You said he needs to find his number 2, which I think we misread as find the number 2.
That's your fault, though.
Oh, hang on. I'm throwing Dylan on the bus here. He responded Jordan Luesi.
Love that this is just too
Nick said Kingsley Oys has entered the chat. I remember that.
Oh yeah, Kingsley Oys would be. Kingsley Oys would be.
read that to me and got his name correct, which was crazy.
But so I'm blaming Dylan because he put Jordan Luesi.
Yeah, let's blame Dylan. Officially confirmed, it's Dylan's fault. Dylan, if you're listening, it's your fault. On this of all this chat dynamics.
But then, Nathan, you made the same mistake. Because you quoted me. Because Nick, you said Kingsley Oys, and then I said, haha, but for the Lions. Because Kingsley's 18.
Yeah, because I was still responding to a message about the number 2.
But for the Lions, Dave Parecki. And then Nick said Lockie Lonergan. I mean,
I love that we're talking about a chat that nobody else has access to. It's just literally drama about the chat.
I read it out. I just read it out. I read out what the chat was. Sorry, everyone. I said, we need Angus Bell. He's a freak. I hope he doesn't get injured. Because he got injured twice last year. Or twice in 2 years.
Oh, right.
So I said, yes, we need to find his number 2. As in, his backup.
Okay. Well, there was a misreading on my part. But all I'm saying is if 3 people out of 4... I responded.
Nick got it right. Nick got it right. It's 2 out of 4. Because Nick replied and said Kingsley Oys, who's a loose head prop.
I'm loving that you didn't respond to this in the group chat at all. You've saved this.
I don't want to be like actually
4 days.
I just let the conversation flow.
This has been 4 days that you could have said something. Instead, you're just coming out and trying.
I'll bring it up now
on the podcast.
So this is being discussed in the podcast. I was talking.
Oh, he's done it.
He's actually done it. Whatever. But we'll let you know how this goes if anyone's actually.
No,
if you're still listening to this point, fair play. I wouldn't be.
I finish off by wrapping up this literal loose news section by apparent news that there is talk in the corridors of rugby that there might be a Super Rugby AU comp coming back, which might be super exciting next year. Hold the phone on that. And then the last piece of news is Australia A is going to play England A as well this weekend. Nathan, is there any real comments that we need to mention about that Australia A England A game, apart from, of course, them drawing against the Bristol Bears, which, by the sounds of it, with no broadcast, I'm literally going off Pato's drip feed on Twitter that he gave us. But effectively, it was just that Hamish Stewart rather had a bit of a shocker playing at 10, and they clearly need a makeshift of someone who's actually played a bit more time at 10 in there. And Lockie Anderson scored some tries.
Look, it's one of those ones when you don't. If for those type of games, if what's the word? If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to see it, did it really happen? We drew. We drew. It doesn't matter. Now, in all seriousness, I think this was a game that was sort of affected a little bit by all those Reds players out. Tom Liner, Harry McLaughlin-Phillips, particularly both of them. I mean, one of them should have been with the team. I don't know why both of them had to go to Japan, but oh well. It's going to be a completely different side that runs out against England A in terms of quality. And again, these A games are great because you can go, if you win, how good are us? Even our pathways are better than England, sucked in. If you lose, you go, it's just a hit out. Who cares? So it's a real choose your own adventure type game, which, again, ask me at 2 a.m. on Monday what happens.
Yeah, well, that one's getting broadcast. Actually getting broadcast. It's not just a sitch of just trying to find any sort of information you can about that game. People are actually going to be able to watch that one on Stan, which is a very nice surprise. We'll finish off. Lastly, there was not just the Australia game and the England game that happened this weekend. There were, in fact, other games of rugby that occurred. So, as a final question to both of you, what was your other standout match for this weekend just gone? Mr. Hartman, you first. Yep.
Too busy trying to cook me in a group chat.
Yeah.
Is that
sorry,
he's still there.
Sorry.
I'll go first. While Nick's
again.
While Nick's talking shit. All right. In terms of games this week, which I was really excited. In terms of games last week that really caught my eye, like that Ireland All Blacks game was awesome. Just the whole theatre around the haka and Rico being the one to lead it was just chef's kiss. Just added to the spectacle.
It was a new haka. I haven't seen it, but I think it was a new haka.
It was a similar haka, but new haka leader, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, I would have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it was the same haka. It wasn't like their proper throat slit one, but
Kopango.
Yeah. But the All Blacks just were at their very best. Like, this didn't sort of look like a side which got touched up by Argentina and South Africa badly. Like, they were out to prove a point and really just silence Ireland, and that's what they did. So I got to pay them credit. It was an unbelievable performance by New Zealand, and knocks Ireland off number one, which is incredibly surprising given the way they've sort of played the last 9 months. So I got to tip my hat where credit's due, and fair play to the All Blacks.
Mr. Hartman.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier in the pod, man, I was fucking wired. So I stayed up for the England game, had 2 Vs and 3 coffees. Somehow got through it, had some rough patches, but watched it. And then at the end, I was, buzzing. Heart rate was up. So Argentina, England, Italy were on next. And I'm not sure if you watched it, Nathan, or if you're busy typing out your match report. But so Italy are coached by Gonzalo Quesada, who was the old Argentina coach, I think 2 World Cups ago. So they have very similar styles, and it's all just manic, ball in hand, stringing passes together. And, when if you guys watched Australia play Argentina earlier this year, once they get going, you can't stop them. And it was just an insane match. And Italy, as you might know, who was that number 8 for Italy? Who was Parise? So he was born in Argentina. A lot of Argentinians have Italian heritage. And still to this day, I think 5 of the team in Italy were born in Argentina. And they just it was just an insane game, and I really liked Italy. Louis Liner was playing on the right wing, and Monte Ione was playing on the left wing. So 2 Australians playing on the wings for Italy, which is the funny one. But just a great game, and that centre pairing in Italy, Brex and I can't remember the other guy's name. Just insane. But even their fly half is some French dude. It's a really fucking good game. But it was funny watching Italy. They're like the Wallabies. Wallabies of old, I'd like to say, because they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. One dude got a 50-22, and then they had the line out, and they threw the line out to no one, kind of like Wales, Australia. So it was kind of weird and cathartic watching it, but fucking great game. And I only watched the first half. I think Argentina ended up winning 50-22, but that first half was great. And Italy really didn't deserve to get
50-18. It was a proper old school thumping. Doesn't help by the fact that you lose someone like Capuzzo and stuff like that in the 6th minute or whatever. Like he was off early, and they just didn't have the same thing from there. I mean, Garbezi's pretty good, but
yeah,
there is something about Argentina, this Argentinian side under Contepomi when they get on a roll. Like,
man, it's honestly, it's like a new type of rugby. It's insane.
Yeah, he's good. It's really good. It's good to watch. It feels like the natural progression after Cheika. Like Cheika did that 1.5 years, 18-month stint that he needed to do to give Argentina an actual plan going forward with Contepomi as the long-term coach. And God, it's paying off at the moment. They're looking really good. I will finish off by, there is a couple of games to highlight, most notably, South Africa beat Scotland in relatively convincing fashion at Murrayfield, but the game, I don't think the Springboks played that well, to be honest, which just gives you a sense as to how good they are at the moment. Personal enjoyment, France. France absolutely flogged Japan 52-12.
Did you watch it?
I watched the mini match.
It was in the morning on Sunday. That's right.
Yeah, I watched the mini match. I was kind of just still buzzing off the Wallabies performance. I forgot that this match was live when I jumped in to stand and just went straight to the Australia match because that's what I cared about. And true to form, when France get on a roll, God, they're good. And while you can see what Eddie Jones is trying to do with this Japanese side,
can you see what he's trying to do? Do you mean that? Because they've played like shit.
Like
they've had one good game.
I do, but I don't. That's the reality. I do, but I don't. Because he's clearly trying to create a style and approach that is so hard to make up on the fly that it's impossible for defenses to read. But the problem is, I don't think this Japanese side can actually deliver it effectively.
Well, I think Eddie works really well in Japan because they're like a subservient kind of culture,
and he gets paid a lot,
and he'll just fucking do it.
2015 as well,
and 2015 as well. Yeah,
but I don't know if you guys watched it, but I really remember Japan playing Ireland in the 2019 quarterfinal. And just how they ripped Ireland apart with that quick passing. And when Jamie Joseph was the coach, and they just haven't been anywhere as close to that since.
Yeah, I feel like 2019 was the peak. They really need to find something else.
Yeah.
But they've got Eddie here, and I think he's won 2 or 3 this year, but it's not exactly been a successful stint. He's
won against Samoa and Tonga.
Yeah, he's lost a lot more than he's won, to put it simply. But France, it definitely bodes interestingly for this weekend when they play the All Blacks at Stade de France, I believe it is this weekend, which should be an absolute classic and bodes well. It's curious to see how France are following that World Cup, which really, let's be honest, they really underperformed. Like, if there was any opportunity for France to win the World Cup, it should have been that one. After all those years of talk and build up. So curious to see how this one goes, particularly with the All Blacks. Potentially, if the All Blacks win this game, you'd fancy them also to be favourites against Italy. And if they win, it'll be the first time they've actually clean swept in Europe since 2017.
Wait, did you say the All Blacks would be favourites to win Italy if they beat France?
I'd say so, wouldn't you? They've never lost.
I mean,
to
I
Italy.
already said they are favourites to beat Italy.
They would. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they
Bold
would.
statement.
Yeah, they're bold. It's a bold statement. But if New Zealand beat France, then realistically they probably would beat Italy, and that would mean they'd clean sweep for the first time in 7 years.
Okay. Yeah. Mate, genius. You are a genius.
I know. On that bombshell, I reckon it's time. Let's wrap this podcast up. But thank you, Mr. Hartman. Thank you, Nathan.
No worries, mate.
It's been a pleasure as always. Let's talk rugby. Let's do it more. We'll be back next week with our review of the Wales match. It's spring tour time, baby.